A brand new Royal Champion equipment is coming to Clash of Clans, and not only is it absolutely stunning in its effect, but it's probably going to be an insanely good meta piece of equipment. So in this video, we're going to break down the overall stats of the new Electro boots, talk about the myriad of situations where it actually does well, and then finish off with the synergy it has with other Royal Champion equipment. And guys, trust me, you want to stick around because this equipment is really good. To start things off, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the stats of the Electro boots. I took the liberty of displaying all of the stats in this chart right here so you guys can see how these stats change as we progress through the levels. However, one thing you should know about this equipment is that it is a fully passive piece of equipment, and usually those passive pieces of equipment have linear progressions in Clash of Clans. As we cycle through the graphs, you can see that all the stats from the healing per second, the damage per second, and the hit point increase all increase linearly, which is something you should keep in mind as you upgrade it. And for those of you that don't know, level 9 is the best return on investment level for these types of equipment. If we take a deep dive into particular stats, we can see that the hit point increase stat is actually going to be best in class along with the rocket spear. So this is really great in that regard. It continues to get really good because if we look at the self heal per second at max level, you can get 60 heal per second. To compare, a max level healer will actually give you 68 heal per second, so this is almost one healer for free for the Royal Champion. And to give you even further comparison, the max level unicorn will actually grant 70 heal per second, so this is really good in comparison to that as well. Now if we take a look at the interface for this piece of equipment, it doesn't give us any stats on the radius of the equipment. However, I took the liberty to count the radius for you, and if you guys can see on this pause screen right here, we have a diameter of 10 tiles, which means the radius is 5 tiles, which is a huge area. However, there are some more things to analyze because we still need to talk about damage, and damage is where this equipment gets really crazy. At max level, this equipment does 250 damage per second for anything that is in that radius around the Royal Champion. Now just to give you an idea, that's actually a bit more than max level Hog Riders, but it's actually better than the Hog Riders because the Hog Riders actually need to get to the target, which the equipment doesn't, and the Hog Riders can get taken out by HP, and while the Royal Champion is alive, you're consistently gonna get this DPS. When we compare this to the troop that is most like it, the Electro Titan, we can see that the Electro Titan only has a radius of 3.5 and a DPS of 137.5, so the Electro boots almost double the stats of the Electro Titan. To further look at how significant this damage is, we can go ahead and analyze how this damage compares to other instant damage equipment in the game. Now obviously this is not going to be a one-to-one comparison because there are things to consider like radius and pass-through damage, but it's just a means for comparison. And it's pretty insane to see how fast this equipment can do insane damage to a base. In fact, some people might even say it is a benefit that the Royal Champion equipment does damage in this way because it's not just one go where you just do damage to one area. It is a slow drip of heavy damage to multiple areas as long as the Royal Champion is alive, so that could be a benefit. On top of this, another thing that you might not have considered with your initial thoughts is that the Royal Champion only has a radius of 3. This means that any building that the Royal Champion is attacking will also get damage from the Electro boots. This effectively increases the Royal Champion's DPS from 560 to 810, which is a 47% increase, and that's absolutely insane, especially considering the fact that you also get an insane hit point bonus as well as self-healing per second. There is no question in my mind as to why this piece of equipment is an epic piece of equipment. It fully deserves it. But if you're not already fully convinced that this equipment is completely broken for the Royal Champion, let me go ahead and tell you about some scenarios where this equipment is going to help you without you even realizing it. First of all, one of the biggest problems for the Royal Champion is skeletons and skeleton traps, and as you might expect, the skeletons get absolutely shredded by this equipment. Next off, we have the clan castle troops, which will cause a problem not only for the Royal Champion but for your entire army, but they also take the aura damage from this piece of equipment, which helps out a lot. But perhaps the most cracked thing, and the thing that I wasn't considering the first time I was looking at this equipment, is the fact that it pairs really well with the Spirit Fox. This is due to two primary reasons. First off, the Spirit Fox allowing the Royal Champion to be invisible means that you're going to get extra damage while the Royal Champion is not getting targeted. And second, not only are you going to do extra damage, but remember that the heal per second will actually get you a decent chunk of health back while your Royal Champion is invisible with the Spirit Fox. And probably at this point you're thinking about how crazy this piece of equipment is, but let's go ahead and analyze how it does in attacks. In my opinion right now, the Royal Champion is used in three primary ways: to set a funnel for your attack, to send it in with the rest of your attack, and for back end damage. Setting a funnel with this piece of equipment is one of the easiest things you'll do because the passive damage will actually allow you to set a really nice funnel, especially for air attacks. When you send the Royal Champion in with the rest of your army, the extra aura can help your troops move through the base and also take out skeleton traps as well as enemy heroes and clan castle troops. And for the back end of attacks, it works very similar to funneling because you're going to get a lot of free damage on tons of buildings and get them out of the way so you can get closer to that triple. The bottom line is, no matter how you're using your Royal Champion, this piece of equipment is going to do really well in helping you achieve your goals. But we all know that when we're talking about equipment, there's not just one equipment slot. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the synergies that the Electro boots has with other pieces of equipment. Ironically, when we look at the two epic pieces of equipment for the Royal Champion, they don't get the best synergy with each other. This is because the Rocket Spear causes the Royal Champion to stand in one place, therefore wasting the aura damage that you'd be getting otherwise. However, it is true that if you wanted the Royal Champion to stay in one place for some high hit point buildings, this would be helpful, but this would take a lot of skill and situation to be able to pull off. When we consider the haste vial, it moves the Royal Champion a little bit too quickly, so you're not benefiting as much from that aura damage. However, just a disclaimer, with both the Rocket Spear and the haste vial, it doesn't mean that they're bad combinations. It just means that those pieces of equipment don't get the best synergy in terms of how they're usually used. When we consider the Royal Gem, things start to get a little bit better. This is because both pieces of equipment are passive, so they really can't have bad synergy together. The Royal Gem is particularly useful just to keep the Royal Champion alive due to its insane health regeneration capacity. The Seeking Shield is also a bit situational because it can make the Royal Champion stand in one spot to get more damage, similar to the Rocket Spear. However, if I had to choose between the Rocket Spear and the Seeking Shield, I would take the Rocket Spear any day, so this is a moot point. Last but not least, with the Hog Rider puppet, the Electro boots does get interesting synergy. This is because the Royal Champion will get some extra shielding from those hogs, as well as that 1 second of invisibility, which might save the Royal Champion and allow it to live just a little bit longer. So there are good pieces of synergy with other Royal Champion equipment for the Electro boots, but there is no obvious answer. And I like this mechanic because it means that we're gonna actually have to think about how we're using the Royal Champion in our attack and which piece of equipment goes best for it. However, I would be completely surprised if players did not choose to use the Electro boots in every single attack, because yes, it is that powerful. And to make things even better, even at level 1 for the Electro boots, more than half of the maximum damage is already available to you. Thus, with the stats profile it has, its practicality, and the synergy it has with other pieces of equipment, it is no doubt in my mind that the Royal Champion Electro boots is going to become a meta piece of equipment for all players. So you should definitely buy it from the Toy Metal shop as soon as you can. That being said, the Electro boots isn't the only thing that's in the Toy Metal shop. There are a lot of things, including older epic pieces of equipment. And if you want to know whether or not you should buy anything in the Toy Metal shop and whether it's worth those valuable resources, you should check out this video right here where I break down the best rewards for both free-to-play players and spenders at all Town Hall levels.